Welcome to Tarvin Tutorials. Let's talk about data fields, what they are, and how to use them. Purpose of the data fields is to set up fields to store information about a contact. Contact profile and data field. Profiles and data fields, or profile fields and data fields, are synonymous. They both refer to the same thing. A data field is at the audience level. A profile field is, you're talking about like the first name for a contact. But they're basically the exact same thing, just in different areas. We or you may refer to them differently. We have a lot of standard fields called system fields that we add for you. Those include like first name, last name, email address, and so on. Really typical fields that you'd have. Then you can add additional fields to have more proprietary information specific to your needs. So maybe you have the company name, the company type, contact ID or contract ID, contractor ID. So these are all extra fields that have been added to this audience to track various information about each contact. Now, some people will ask us, what data do we put in here? How do we decide what data to put into Tarvin versus not? What we say is, as a general rule of thumb, you should only add in data that you're going to use to merge into your email. So it's called personalization. Or if you're going to use it for dynamic content, saying if their contract ID is not populated, then don't show this contact or this content. So you can use it for dynamic content, those if-then type statements, to determine what content gets displayed in an email. You would also add fields in here that you're going to use for segmentation or for targeting. So instead of sending an email out to your entire audience, you may select everybody that has a contractor ID and their end date hasn't happened yet. So that could be a segment that you create where I would need to make sure that I have a contract ID and an end date. So each data field also has a merge tag, as you can see here. So we have company name. The merge tag will be displayed as company_name. And this just gives you the tag to put into your campaign. So in the case of you want to personalize the email and say, Dear Jason, then you can put Dear and then use the merge tag for first name, which would be down in the system fields. But that just allows you to personalize the information. Now, you don't need to remember this because we have wizards within the campaign that allow you to just select these and it does all the work for you. Additionally, a data field can be required. So when a data field is required and you create a form that has that data field in it, you create a question that maps to this particular data field, then if it's required, it's going to force the person to fill out that information before they can submit it. Now, a required field doesn't mean that when you do an import, you have to provide that information. That's fine to not have it. You don't have to have the required data there. But if you're manually adding a contact, or if you are allowing a contact to add themselves via a form or update their profile, then required fields are going to be required that they provide information. In addition, we also have private and public data fields. So a private data field may be like account number. So you can have the account number stored. It's private, so you can never create a question in a form that has that account number that would allow a customer to change their account number. You wouldn't want that, and so that's where you can make that data field private. Now, in addition, you can also have default values for a data field. So those default values, they don't get stored with the contact if their information is blank. It just gets stored with the data field. So then when you create a campaign and you're merging in that data field, then it's going to take the default if they are missing that data in their profile. And there's other things you can do with defaults when you're in a campaign, but that's the basic principle of it. Also, for each data field, you can include a description. That description gets used in the form as help. You can display help for each form field, and that will just give it more context as to what that field is for. Now, in addition to that, if you're importing data, maybe in some of the older systems or maybe the system that you're using, you may import it and everything comes in uppercase or lowercase. It's totally fine, because within the campaign, you'll be able to modify the formatting of that. In the data field itself, you can't do that, but you don't have to worry. The data can come in however you want, and then we have formatters to help you modify that data when it's being displayed in a campaign or within a template or so on. And the last thing is just the date time fields. So date fields or date time, it's easy when you're manually entering. When you're doing an import, there is a very specific format that needs to be used, because there are so many different formats that are used for dates around the world. So Tarbent had to have a standard format for dates so we understand what each data point is within the date.